Kokedama is the ancient Japanese art of growing plants in a moss ball. They look great as a feature, and making your own kokedama is easy as. Here's what you'll need: core peat moss, potting mix, sphagnum moss, heavy duty twine, and of course your plant of choice. You need to choose your plant depending on your location. Kokedama burn easily when in full sunlight, so make sure you choose the correct plant for your location. Foliage plants such as indoor hanging plants, palms, ferns or calatheas are always best. Flowering plants such as spathiphyllums or anthuriums also work well, but if you want something a little different, try bromeliads, succulents or orchids, which will need less water. You can even personalize your kokedama with different colored twine to suit. Today I'm going to be planting a maidenhair fern. Now you can buy a base straight off the shelf, but I'm going to make my own. The first thing you're going to need to do is to soak your sphagnum moss in a bucket of water for about 15 minutes. Mine has already been soaking, so that's looking pretty good to go. Next we've got the peat moss, which we're going to combine with some indoor plant mix. Put these all together in a bucket, a couple of scoops of each one. So now we've got an even amount of each in the bucket. Just add some water until it gets to a nice, gluggy, quite sticky consistency. Just mix it with your hand as you go. Just add water as you need. Now you're looking for a consistency you can squeeze together into a ball and it'll hold its shape. Now as you're building it up, you're really just aiming to try and get about as much soil as the plant that's going in there is currently in. Now I'm pretty happy with that. And the next step is a tricky one. Take your time, you just want to try and gently break the ball in half. And it's a good idea to just place that in a bowl and it can just sit there for a minute. Next, grab your plant, gently remove most of the soil from the pot. Try and leave a little bit on there to avoid any transplant shock. And just keep gently pulling the soil off until it looks like the roots will fit into the soil base you've just made. Now this next bit's a little bit fiddly. Get one of your halves, pop your plant down on that, spread the roots out a wee bit, and then put the two halves back together. And just keep going around it. You might find you need a little bit more water. That can just help to squeeze it back together. It's looking good. Now the next step is we're going to add our sphagnum moss. Now you're going to want to be pretty generous. Layer it over one side first. Press that into the ball of soil. Flip it round and then finish covering the rest with our moss. It's a good idea to give this a good thick layer of this moss because that's what will hold the water around the base of the plant. It takes a bit of time, but it's worth it in the end. Right, I'm pretty happy with that. And the last step of building the kokedama is to wrap the whole thing, a nice tight wrap of twine. Go around in a bit of a pattern, crisscrossing. The idea here is really just to try and tie all that moss together. Now you always want to use a nice twine for this base wrapping, but when you decide to hang it up, you could use wire or fishing line or something else that might suit your place better. I'm going to use the same twine to hang mine. So I'm going to leave a decent length and then cut that off. Lay this down. I'm just going to try and find a little loop up near the top. Feed the long length back under it. Pull it through. And then really just trying to tie off a knot in that same place. Success. Now you've just got to choose somewhere to hang it. Make sure your plant choice matches the location you plan to hang your kokedama, as some plants like loads of sunlight and others like more shady spots. Either way, place your kokedama in a spot where it won't dry out too quickly. You can water your kokedama in two ways. Mist it daily with a spray bottle, or dunk in a bucket of water every few days until bubbles stop appearing. You can always take the bucket to your kokedama if it's easier than taking it down each time. But most importantly, don't let it dry out. You need to keep the soil ball moist. Kokedama are very low maintenance, but if you get any stray growth, just trim with scissors or secateurs. And that's all there is to it. Build up your own kokedama collection at home, or they make great presents if you want to impress your mates. Make sure you subscribe to the Mitre 10 YouTube channel for more great content, or click here to watch more now.